you honestly, that I'm shaking right now.
That's the voice of Riley Gant, the founder of Rainbow Pack. It's a nonprofit that distributes backpacks and school supplies to kids in need throughout Southern California. She just learned that her organization received a $50,000 grant from our podcast. Her response is about what you'd expect from a teenager who launched a nonprofit when she was just 10 years old. In this, our first episode of Season 3, we'll catch up with Riley. You're also going to hear about other kids making a difference. This is Crazy Good Turns. We tell inspiring stories about people who do amazing things for others, and I'm your host, Brad Shaw.
I started Rainbow Pack after I went on a service learning trip. It was to a local public school that was probably 15 miles away from my very fancy college prep private school. But it was like a completely different world. And we were paired up with the students just working on, coloring in a card or something. And one of the little girls said, "Oh, I wanted a box of the skinny crayons, but my mom said she couldn't afford them." I couldn't understand how someone that was so young didn't have something so basic. After that, I remember sort of walking on the bus and kind of bringing this up to some of my friends, and no one else really seemed as concerned. And I was having a complete freak out in my head about this.
There's one thing to know about Riley. Like many kids, she's super passionate.
I'm incredibly sensitive, which again is sometimes a blessing and a curse. And I think I'm just really tuned in to what's going on. And I can't just hear about things and let them go.
So, unlike what many people would do, Riley didn't just move on. She was determined to help.
My mom ended up getting the brunt of that freak out. And I, was saying that we had to go back and we had to get her a box of crayons. And my mom had the good sense to sort of slow me down and realize that I needed to get some more information before we just ran over to a school and handed out boxes of crayons to kids. We met with a social worker at the school, and she told us that this problem was a lot bigger than we thought. Kids in the schools, like the one I visited, lacked all basic school supplies. Because of that, they couldn't do their homework. They ended up falling behind in school and developing sort of a frustration with school at a really early age, and this impacted their self-esteem and just made it so their whole school experience was incredibly negative when it didn't need to be. In that moment, I realized that this was not something that I could just accept as a reality. It was not fair to me that these kids were having to go through this, and that this was a reality for thousands and thousands of students across Los Angeles and across the United States.
In their first year, Riley and Rainbow Pack handed out 360 backpacks full of school supplies to kids in need.
These kids, you would think we're giving them, new iPads and toys, and no, we're giving them pencils and erasers and backpacks, and they are so excited. They're jumping up and down. Their reactions are just incredible.
Getting the backpacks to those kids is no small task. Riley first had to set up a nonprofit and deal with all the legal paperwork that goes along with that. Then she and her family set about fundraising. And that's just to get the resources to secure the backpacks and supplies. Getting schools to help them is a whole other task.
LUSD, the Los Angeles Unified School District, which is the district that we work in, is notoriously the most difficult school district to work with in the country. It's a miracle that we're still even able to do our giveaways there.
But that's another thing about Riley. She's persistent.
I just sort of have this blind stubbornness and determination. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing when I just put my foot down on something really silly, but it's a good thing when it comes to these big picture things. If I think it's crazy and never try to do it, then yeah, it will never happen. But what's the harm in trying? If I fail, I fail. But I don't think there's a harm in me trying, because if I don't, then there's no hope that this is ever going to be fixed. And to me, that's just not okay.
As you might expect, Riley never gave up, and each year Rainbow Pack grew. When we highlighted the organization last year, they were in the middle of their biggest year yet. They gave more than 6,000 packs to students at 8 different schools. Which brings us to the grant. Last season, we offered $50,000 to the organization that helped us the most in creatively spreading the word about Crazy Good Turns. And while all 20 nonprofits featured on the show offered support, Rainbow Pack knocked it out of the park. They posted more than 50 times on social media and encouraged their fans, friends, followers, and family to write in. And they did. We received many messages singing Rainbow Pack's praises. So, in December, I got to make this phone call.
Hello?
Hello, is this Riley?
Yeah, it is.
Hey, Riley, it's Brad Shaw from Crazy Good Turns. How you doing?
Good.
What you been up to?
Nothing really, just school and college stuff. I got accepted to college, which was really fun.
Awesome. Congratulations. Hey, I was calling really just to say thank you because you guys have done an amazing job this year supporting Crazy Good Turns. And seriously, your creativity and passion were just off the charts, and we really deeply appreciate it.
We're so happy that we were able to share it with other people because we are seriously listening to it all the time. So we were more than happy to talk about it, and we probably talked people's ears off, but we were happy to do it.
Nope, and we're happy you did. And because of that, we're even more happy to tell you that you guys are the recipient of the $50,000 grant.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. You honestly, that, I'm shaking right now.
Well,
that is so amazing. Thank you.
I wish I could be there to give you a big congratulations hug because you deserve it.
Thank you. So that you seriously don't even know what that means. We'll be able to help so many kids this year because of you. I don't even have words. I think that, every year we're doing this just sort of by the skin of our teeth and by the people that support us. And to know that you guys want to support us in such a huge way, it means so much to me. I'm not even processing it, I don't think.
A few days later, Riley and I were able to talk again after she'd had a chance to let the news sink in. So Riley, now that you've had a couple days to process the news, why don't you tell us what you're going to do with that $50,000, what it means to Rainbow Pack and the kids that you serve?
The $50,000 grant means so much to Rainbow Pack. Last year was our biggest year ever, and we raised $62,000. To think that $50,000 will go so far, that's 5 schools, that's 5,000 backpacks, and that's 5,000 kids. 5,000 is a really big number, but when you break it down to actual people, those are actual children that we're going to be helping.
Great. So Riley, what's next for Rainbow Pack? Where are you guys heading from here?
One of the biggest things that we're doing this next year as I transition to college is we're going to be building in a youth advisory board. To me, it was really important to have it be a youth advisory board because one of the things that makes Rainbow Pack so special is that it's kids helping kids. It's something that we've heard from the principals a lot is that it's really, really powerful for the kids to see people their age helping them because it inspires them to know that they can help people too. Rainbow Pack is my baby. I've been running it for 7 years, and it's hard for me to let, responsibilities go. But I think it'll be really cool to bring up a whole sort of another generation of people that will care about this problem and will sort of take Rainbow Pack under their wings.
That's great. So you'll stay the head of Rainbow Pack, but you'll have this advisory board, per se, helping you run it while you're at college.
Definitely. I'll definitely still be the head and be very involved, but I will be, in a different state. And I think that it's important that I do pass responsibility on.
So knowing you, I'm sure you've given a lot of thought to what you might be studying at Wellesley.
Yeah, so right now I kind of have this idea of studying sociology and then politics or policy. And my idea behind this is that I think it's really important in any sort of advocacy work or politics to understand people. It's something that is honestly severely lacking, both in, politics and sometimes in the charity world, is to really understand the full scope of the humanity of the people that you're helping. And so that's why I'm really drawn to sociology, is that I love people. And then with policy, I'm really interested in education reform. I'm really interested in education policy. I sort of adopt this idea that an advocate is incredibly powerful. Using your words and your actions to do that and raise your voice and sort of shine that light on the problems is really, really powerful.
So Riley, listening to you say all that really makes me ask, what's your secret to thinking big and just making it happen?
When I hear about an issue, like when I first heard about the little girl who didn't have crayons, I just decide that is not right, and I am the person that can fix it. And I know that there are some people that look at me saying that I want to change the education system and think that it's completely crazy, which is very valid. But I don't think it is, because I look around me and I see so many amazing people doing incredible things. We're living in a time and in a generation where it's not crazy anymore to think that you can change these things that are going on in the world.
Riley, I'm sure you've come across other kids who have started nonprofits. Can you tell me about one or two that have impressed you?
One person that really stands out to me is Amit Dodani. He runs an organization called My Name, My Story, and they're really about encouraging empathy, a lot of times through storytelling. Their whole idea is that it's really difficult to hate someone once you know their story. And so they're really about cultivating this culture of empathy, especially in young people, to help make the world a little more kind and understanding of each other, to help prevent some of these big issues that are going on right now. And I just think that the work that they do is so incredible. The way they go about it is so smart, and I think especially smart for the young people they work with. They do programs with schools all across the country. Another person that I've come to call a friend who constantly inspires me is Lulu Cerrone. She started an organization called Lemonade Warriors, actually when she was 9 years old, so she beat me by a year. Her organization is all about encouraging other young kids to take action, because I'll often hear from parents that there's a lot of organizations that have really high age limits on the kids that they allow to participate, which is really discouraging because, as I know, you're never too young to start creating change. And so I think it's really great that with her organization, Lemonade Warriors, that she's really giving kids the action items that they can do. She actually just wrote a book called Philanthroparties, and it's all about the sort of party with a purpose idea about incorporating change making and philanthropy into your everyday life, and like having a barbecue and putting a little philanthropic twist on it and having people bring donations, which I just think is a really great thing to promote and to help people realize that to be philanthropic, it doesn't have to be some major shift in your daily life, that it's a really easy thing that you can incorporate.
That's awesome. And so along those lines, short of starting a nonprofit, which is no small task, in your mind, what are some ways that kids can start giving back?
I didn't start with Rainbow Pack. That was not the first philanthropic thing I ever did. I did a lot of volunteering before that. I did 5Ks for kids' cancer research. I would have lemonade and cookie stands to raise money for local animal shelters. And I think to not undervalue those things as a young person, to realize that those can have really big impacts. And I think especially for parents, one of the things that I talk about the most when people ask sort of like, you were 10 years old, why did you think you could do this? I say it's because I was never told I couldn't. And that comes down to my parents who, when I would notice stuff and when I would realize like, oh, that's not right, my parents wouldn't just shut it down, tell me to be quiet and move on. They would really have conversations with me about issues and give me actionable things that I could do, which really got me into this pattern of, okay, if I identify something that I care about and I talk about it and I start a conversation and then we identify a course of action, like that's a way I can make an impact.
And that's the idea we hope to leave you with today. Kids who are having an impact. It doesn't have to be starting a nonprofit. It could be as simple as setting up a lemonade stand and donating the proceeds to charity, or volunteering in a food bank. Do you know of a kid out there who's making a difference? We'd love for you to tell us about them. You can email us at hello@crazygoodturns.org or post about it on our Facebook page. Visit us at facebook.com/crazygoodturns, and you'll see a video there that Riley's parents captured when she learned she received the $50,000 grant. You should check it out. The look on her face is priceless. Thank you for listening to this episode of Crazy Good Turns. Our show is audio engineered by Stephen Key, music supervision and mixing by Score in Los Angeles, research and editing by Martine Chaussard, and a special thanks to Megan Basinger. And I'm your host, Brad Shaw.
I think you just have to know that you can do it. I'm not a super special individual. I don't have any superpowers that made me able to do this. So I think any kid, any adult, any person can do something like what I've done.